and gentlemen. Sorry, I got some on my phone here. We are back. We are back. It's been a while since we've done a Thursday night recap. One, I was out of town for the Buffalo Bills game, so I had to pack a few weeks ago, going to see our buddy. Two, the last week, I was completely exhausted from that trip, so we did not do one last week. And but that's okay because now we're back. So we just had what was supposed to be an NFC East slobber knocker throwdown, division leading teams. And let me crack this liquid death on a Thursday. Happy weekend, everybody. I guess if you celebrate weekends on a Thursday. We were supposed to have a spectacular divisional matchup where we had 2 7-win teams. And I don't know about you, but it was kind of a letdown for the most part. That's just me. I mean, it was close, which was pretty good, but man, if you're a fan of either one of these teams, do you come away from that game like, oh, that was a lot of fun? Or, I don't know. If you're the Eagles, you win. Good for you. Jalen Hurts, MVP candidate. I don't know about that. I've got the whole note. I got my notepad right here. I take notes during the games. I'm a loser, but I love football and I love talking about football. And some people get mad at these takes or this information, and we don't care because if you're mad, then you can come on the show or you can start your own show. But anywho, so we had Philly Washington. Philly wins 26-18. I'm going to pull up a very quick stat here real quick. Hold on. I'm going to wait a second. What was I going to do? I was going to do something. Oh, I know what I was going to do. Never mind. Yeah, so NFC, big battle. People chasing the Lions, Eagles chasing the Lions. But hold on. Hold on just a second. Wait a minute. There we go. Okay. So let's pull up a stat right here, right out of the gate. This is from Jayden Daniels. This is a really good, important stat because the first half, at least first quarter, Eagles are a terrible first quarter team, by the way. Terrible. They stink. They have scored, I think one of my friends, one of my friends who is an Eagles fan said that on 60, let me see if I can read this stat. Not all. So Drew Fisher says, "Go boys." Not at all, but Barkley certainly is. True. Yes, Barkley. Now that's the real shame about Jalen Hurts getting all this shine. Good call, Drew Fisher. Good call. Let me pull up this stat my friend said, who is an Eagles fan. He said someone pulled a stat since Nick Sirianni has been the coach, we throw it on 66% of our possessions in the first quarter, which they are dead last in scoring touchdowns and points on their first possession. So obviously the way you beat the Eagles is you have to get on them early. And then they have to become a throwing team, which brings up the point right here. Jayden Daniels brought this up. The Eagles we talked about this on Wednesday's show. The Eagles are asking less of Jalen Hurts and is paying massive dividends. He's extremely efficient in playing some of the best ball in the NFL. Hurts pass attempts weeks 1 through 4. I think they were 2-2. Fire the team, fire the coach, fire the GM, boo him out of the stadium. Jake Elliott stinks, this and that, whatever. 33 points or 33 attempts per game throwing the football. Week 6 through 10, 21. And they've won, what are they, five in a row or 6 in a row now? So they reduced his throwing capacity by 12 attempts per game, which has led them to winning. Now, you can make of that what you will, what you may. I personally think, after talking with other Eagles fans and friends of mine, that he is constantly looking for the big play and missing the simple play. Shout out Mr. Moneylines. So he's obviously looking for what's downfield and trying to go for the jugular every time. And really, you don't have to go for the jugular every time. I don't know if he knows that, but that should be the case. So when he doesn't throw, I mean, obviously we're going to pull up the stats here in a minute, go a little more detail. But before we do that, we want to go into our questions from our Wednesday show that we asked. So here we go. This is what we asked. I asked the question, are both of these quarterbacks actually game managers? Some people might get really mad at that. I believe, just off the graphic we just showed, that it's okay to be a game manager. Jalen Hurts, like, don't throw a pick. You're like 17-1, right? So Jayden Daniels, is some of the magic wearing off? I don't know. What I do know is that fourth down call by Cliff Kingsbury, whoever actually that whole series of call when the game got out of hand, when the Commanders had the ball and they went for it on fourth down late in the fourth, terrible, absolutely horrendous, terrible sequences of play calling there. So, are they game managers? People get really mad at that question, but the Eagles are better when Jalen Hurts is not throwing the football all the time. Period. They are better when Saquon Barkley gets the football. We will show you that in a minute with the stats. Javi asked, how many times do we hear about how athletic the new generation of QBs are? I don't know. I didn't really pay attention to that. I didn't have the volume on, though. So, I don't know. Tex said this is a changing of the guard game. I'm not exactly sure what he meant for who and for what team, but technically he was right because he didn't say for who. So that's a good take. That's a really good internet take by Tex, saying changing of the guard. If you want to know what he had to say, then just go listen to our show from Wednesday. So I'm not exactly sure what he meant. In Dylon, I literally took this from his quote. It says, I guess it's division championship game tomorrow, right? Was it? I don't know. Not sure. Could it be? Maybe. But I think the Commanders get them at home, so they're going to need the Eagles to lose a few games. So there you go. That was what we were looking for. Obviously, it had nothing, it had no impact on the game. But that's the kind of show we run around here. We just ask stupid questions, and then people yell at us, and it's fun. And that's what this is all about. That's why we do this. Let's pull up the stats here. Eagles 26, Commanders 18. Welcome in for those of you just joining us. We've got the stat sheet here. We've got the leaders there over there on the left. I'm going to take you through, right? I write down notes whenever I'm watching these games because I love it. It's just so much fun. So for the first quarter, I had a couple of different notes, and then I had some first half notes. So the first quarter, I had the Brian Robinson touchdown drive, basically zip, zap, zippity doo, Brian Robinson right there, right into your living room. Hurts was 6 of 12 for 58 yards, and you're sitting there in the first quarter, and you're sitting there like, why are they throwing the ball 12 times? Why have they thrown the ball 12 times in the first quarter? They couldn't have had more than 2 or 3 drives. So they threw it like my friend said, 60 to 70% of the time. It doesn't make any sense. Before that, so we had the first quarter there. Those are the two main notes. That was the two main takeaways is, the Eagles, they have an identity. They just refuse to believe their own identity. I mean, you're going to see as this game goes on, whenever I write down these notes, it's like, holy cow, okay, the Eagles, what are you doing? What are you doing? Jalen Hurts throwing the ball 18 times, or 28 times, or I think he ended the first half. He had 19 pass attempts. So they literally said, hey, we're going to throw the football 9 times in the second half. They cut it in half, literally. Cut it in half. So second quarter, 8 minutes to go, third down for the Eagles. A.J. Brown wide open for about 10 seconds on the sideline there. Defender had fallen down. That was it. And then another play there, he missed Devontae Smith on a crossing route in the second quarter. So it's just one of those things where like they're throwing the football, but Jalen Hurts is not seeing who he's supposed to throw the football to. I just don't get it. I don't understand. So they got smart though. And I think another key play that they had where it was 1st and 10. It's 1st and 10 in the second quarter, like early in the second quarter. Like they're driving at the 50-yard line. The Eagles decide to call a trick play on 1st and 10. where they run like a quadruple reverse, and then Jalen Hurts gets sacked at the the opposite 48-yard line, and then the Eagles missed a field goal. So you had all that. It was a what was the score at the end of the first half? Let's hold on. Let's go. I can't remember what the score was at the end of the first. I think it was like 10-6. Is that what it was? Hold on. Was it 10-6? Might have been. Let's see. Yeah, so you had the first, so it was 7, yeah, 10-6 by the end. And you're sitting there watching that game, and you're like, the Eagles look like doo-doo at the first half. Oh, 7-3? It was 7 you gotta be kidding me. It was 7-3. No, it was 7-3 at the half. That is bad. That's pathetic, ladies and gentlemen. Pathetic. Um, anyways, so that's what I had written down for oh, look at this. Look at this. The Commanders win probability all the way until the fourth quarter. Oh no. Then it went back up. Wow. You hate to get win probability if you're the Commanders. Look at that. They were all up in there. Look at that. 50 to 70% at times. Peaked out at 73%. What are you doing, Washington? Tough loss if you're the Commanders. Things are slipping away here. Cue the Clarence Carter. What was this? Oh, this is Saquon Barkley just going absolutely mad. I mean, if you're sitting here looking and you're telling me the MVP voting, they have Jalen Hurts fourth in voting, and you're accrediting Jalen Hurts to the 8-2 start, you're an idiot. I'm sorry. You're a complete jabroni. That should have been 3 touchdowns for Saquon. He fell on the 1 yard line there. So first half takeaways. First half takeaways. Well, that's not what I wanted. First half takeaways. Dan Quinn in the hat, backwards hat, double fist pumping. Double fist pumping is weird. He had the Arctic camo shirt on, glasses on, backwards hat. A lot of Kevin James vibe, King of Queens, Doug Heffernan. I don't know. They're definitely playing well, but the backwards hat and the double fist pump. I don't. If you're a fashion guy, probably not. I think as a head coach, Dan Quinn's one of those coaches that as it gets colder, he's gonna kind of look weird. He's a good coach on the sideline for like t-shirts, dry fit gear, backwards hat. But when it gets cold, is he gonna have to wear a beanie? Is he gonna have to wear a backwards beanie? Is he gonna wear a backwards hat with a beanie over it? He's gonna get one of those beanies that used to have the little brim on it, little beanie with the brim on it. Flip that around backwards. That could be an option for Dan Quinn. So that's just that. That's another note I wrote down. It's another note I wrote down. That was hard to say. Philadelphia, 3 field goal attempts. Jake Elliott, oh buddy, Jake Elliott, dude, where are your stats? Where are the kicks? No special teams. We got, dude. Hold on, let's go see Jake Elliott. Poor guy. What happened to that dude? Jake Elliott. Hold on. Kicking. There you go. 2 of 4 with a missed extra point. So 7 points left on the field there for Mr. Jake Elliott. Could have hit the over had he made those field goals, but we're glad he didn't hit the over or didn't hit those field goals because somebody on this show had the under. We're not going to point fingers, but somebody on this show had the under. Me. And I had the Eagles. Just covering the spread. Yeah. So I think I had that parlay together. So shout out me in your faces for those of you doubters. Those of you doubters and those of you who did not want to believe that the under was in play. Never forget, this is a primetime game, especially on a Thursday night. I don't care what the records. Everybody thought we were going to get fireworks in this game, and it took until the fourth quarter. But the Eagles just can't keep playing this game where they start off horrendously slow and then have to rely on Jalen Hurts to throw the football. That's just not going to be good. And speaking of that, where the hell was Terry McLaurin? Hold on. We'll get to that in a minute. Let me finish these. Hurts' helmet always cracks me up. He looks like the guy from Jingle All the Way, the bad guy, Sinbad, when he's got that big helmet on. That's always what I think about whenever I think about Jalen Hurts. Um, hold on. Let me let me pull up a picture. Let me pull up a picture. So you can know what I'm talking about. There it is. There it is. Hold on, right there. There it is. That reminds me of Jalen Hurts when he's got his helmet on. I don't know. He's got this new weird helmet on. I don't like it. He's got this new weird helmet on. I don't like that helmet that he wears. It's just weird. That thing without the top bar, it's dumb. Into the half, right before the end of the half, the Eagles' red zone offense was pretty bad all night. I mean, let's not forget Saquon Barkley scored from two pretty big plays from pretty far away. So, but their red zone offense was terrible. Devontae Smith and AJ Brown run into each other. Jalen Hurts gets smushed and evaluated for concussion right before the half. And then what is Nick Sirianni? Hey, let's run a quarterback power in the third quarter to come out after our quarterback just got evaluated for a concussion. What are we doing? Anywho, so they got to tighten that up. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, situational football. Philly. I mean, they just like you watch this game the first half, and you're like, what am I watching with Philly? This is a 7-2 or 7-2 team, and they look clueless in the red zone. Their quarterback's missing throws. Their defense is pretty good. Like you've got to give the credit to the defense. So that's from the first half, second quarter. Hurts had 19 pass attempts at the half. Philly had 86 passing yards, 88 rushing yards, which is hilarious because what did they finish with in the second half? Jeez, they piled up almost 300 yards in the second half. What is that? 180, 174. So yeah, 270 yards of offense they piled up in the second half. That's pretty crazy. They dominated the first half. They had 42 total plays, 18-29 in time of possession. Washington had 124 total yards, 1 of 6 on third downs, 18-39 time of possession. Like Washington did not gain a whole lot of offense. They did not have a lot of yards. 124 in the first, 140, not even 100, 138 in the second. So Washington was abysmal on offense. Now you can credit that to Philly's defense, but they did not have a lot going on there. The interior defensive line of the Eagles mollywopped the offensive line of the Commanders, and that's just a fact. There's nothing you can do about it. But yeah, you just look at that. I mean, the Commanders were they had him, man. The Commanders had him where they wanted him. They just didn't put the kibosh on it. So that's their own fault. They have nobody to blame but themselves. Look in the mirror. But yeah, so I just wrote all that down. I wanted to make a note. I was like, man, Eagles, 42 plays, 174 total yards of offense, 18-29 time possession, 3 points at half. That's why it's so confusing. It didn't make any sense. It made zero sense. Okay, so that's the first half. Now, obviously, we can see Jayden Daniels, 1 TD, 1 interception late. Did he look okay? I don't know. He seems to be good, but either the Philly defense was pretty damn good this game. Shout out Quinyon Mitchell because he once again made Terry McLaurin the ghost of Christmas past. Holy moly. Was that guy is he locked down or what? But the third quarter, nothing really happened in the third quarter. Nothing was really going on in the third quarter there. Let's check the tape. It was very weird. So in the third quarter, you had 2 field goals. That was it. So we ended the third quarter at 10-6. And everybody watching this game is like, "Oh my gosh, what are we doing here? Thought this was supposed to be a football game. I signed up for 60, pal. Like, come on. We got kickers missing kicks. We got quarterbacks missing throws. We got, I mean, you know. Now, if you are a 49ers fan and you're sitting there watching Washington drop 2 in a row, get to 4 losses, if you're a 49ers fan like me, you sit there and you watch Washington, you're like, "Oh, yeah, come on down. Come on back to reality a little bit." And that'll open up a couple of those NFC spots if the Commanders continue to lose. And if the Packers or the Vikings start to stumble, it's going to be a crazy race down the end. But the third quarter, again, we had 2 field goals. That was it. And then the fourth quarter was an explosion. Third quarter, all we had from the third quarter I wrote down was Big Dom looks like Big Dom on the sideline, Eagles sideline dude. Looks like he's got a pretty good tan. He's been hitting the tanning bed or something. So Big Dom, security guard, Eagles VP of operations, whatever the hell he is. Big time looks like he's hitting the tan. I know it's cold up there, so you can't tell me that guy's been out sunbathing. I don't believe it. There's a tanning bed somewhere on the facility or that he visits. He's got Big Dom written on the side of his hat too. So shout out that guy. But so that was literally the only thing I had written down for the for the third quarter. I mean, that's really all it was. 2 field goals. So fourth quarter is when it got wild, right? There were some questionable calls for the fourth quarter there. It started with the obviously Jalen Hurts early on in the fourth quarter. This Saquon should have had 3 touchdowns, but for whatever reason in the fourth quarter, you can see it right here. 12 minutes, Jalen Hurts, 1 yard rushing TD. That 11 play, 76-yard drive, 5:27 off the clock. Jalen Hurts vultures another touchdown to boast his MVP candidacy. Like, that's the stuff. Like, if you're in Vegas and you're making the MVP ballot, like you've got, obviously, Lamar is up there, Josh Allen's up there, Mahomes is up there. For some reason, Mahomes is up there. I mean, is it a team award? Give it to the Chiefs. Like, if you're like, Mahomes has not played well enough statistically to, look, everybody else can have great stats, but if they don't win, it doesn't matter. You can give them the MVP, but if Mahomes doesn't have good stats and his team's doing well, you can still give him the MVP. So it's a win-win for the Chiefs. Good for them, whatever. But if you're Jalen Hurts and you're trying to tell me he's the MVP, I'm like, he's not even the MVP on his own team. How can he be? Like, that was the argument against Purdy last year. It's like, Purdy's having a great year, but he's not the MVP on his own team. That's what everybody said. Saquon Barkley is the MVP of the Eagles right now. You're going to see it. Like, they literally made Jalen Hurts stop throwing the football. He threw it 9 times in the second half. 9 times. So put Saquon up at the top. So anyways, the Eagles scored 3 consecutive touchdowns. Boom, 12 to 10, 19 to 10, 26 to 10, 26-18. Over, started sweating right there, but I got a 49.5. Shout out me. So Saquon Barkley had 2 touchdowns. And revenge touchdown for Zach Ertz there. So but I think the big play in the fourth quarter was, I think, whenever it was, you're up by 2, right? And this was with 7 minutes. So at this point, the Eagles were only up by 2 because Elliott missed a field goal. But in between these 2 drives right here, the Commanders had the ball with 7 minutes to go, right? And this is what people are going to be talking about all over the airwaves tomorrow. They're going to be yelling about the 4th and 2, and for the Commanders, they're going to be yelling about the 4th and 2 for sure. And they're going to be, actually, not just the 4th and 2, but the 2 play calls that ensued there. But they had their 4th down and 2, down by 2, in field goal range. And with 7 minutes to go, and they run like a quarterback sweep or maybe a quarterback power, whatever it was supposed to do. They run duo, which was an inside run, and then they run quarterback sweep to the outside. So, and that's where I made the comment. I wrote in my notes in big bold letters, interior defensive line of Philly Oh, there's a stat for you. The best fourth down conversion percentage entering week 11. The Commanders were 92%, 11 of 12 going for it on fourth down. So you get, I mean, everybody's like, why didn't you kick the field goal? I'm like, well, dude, I mean, you've only missed one the entire year. You've been pretty good at it. So it makes sense. So you're at 92%. You're thinking, hey, why not us? So that right there, once they got that, that's when 5 plays later, boom, Saquon Barkley in the end zone, house. We're down. It's now a 2-possession game. Saquon Barkley again, boom, 2 plays. How you doing? Uh, Nail in the coffin. So ended up being a pretty entertaining game, but man, was it? It's I don't know if it's just the Thursday night games. It always seems to be the primetime game, especially on Thursday. But comeback win for the Eagles. Sitting really, I mean, everybody's like, oh, the Lions, we're gonna. I mean, like you talk to Eagles fans. Like I have 2 friends that are Eagles fans. They're like, we're 8-2, but it feels like 2-8. So they don't even feel good about it. The Eagles fans are booing, but that's just Philly, like that's what they do. So Eagles win. Let's take another look at the stats here. First downs, 23 for the Eagles. I mean, they came back from 7-0, but the Commanders, what do you say about the Commanders? Do they not have enough oomph on offense? Like, are they too timid, or was that an Eagles defense was too good for them? It just seems like they didn't take a lot of shots, right? They didn't push the ball down the field. You got Jalen Hurts. I mean, you've got and actually it was hilarious. The first play of the game was the Eagles called that bubble screen to Jahan Dotson revenge game. So you had 2 revenge, Zach Ertz, Jahan Dotson revenge. They both had a catch. Good for them. But the Eagles, just in my opinion, they wanted to run the football. That's Dan Quinn, run the football defensive guy, but they did not push the ball down the field much at all. I'd love to see the average depth of target or average pass attempt for Jalen Hurts. Jayden Daniels. So that'd be interesting. I mean, on third down, pathetic by the Commanders. Come on, not that much better by the Eagles, but still 1 of 2 on fourth. Total plays fairly even. Total yards not very even. Total drives even. That's pretty impressive. Yards per play, passing. Both. I mean, not a lot of passing. That's what I was saying. Game manager, like you could tell these teams wanted to run the football. That's what they wanted to do. People get mad whenever you say, "Oh, there's a game manager." No, dude, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're good at running the football, you be a game manager. Who cares? Get over it. Oh, there it is. Yards per pass, 4.9. Yep. Boom. So rushing, Eagles, absolutely dominant. They did not turn the ball over again. When they don't turn the ball over again, they're really good. So, but time of possession fairly equal. But I mean, the real story of this was not Jalen Hurts. It was this dude right here. 26 for 146. I mean, literally in the second half, like I said, what did he throw? Jalen Hurts had 19 pass attempts in the first half. He finished with 28. They basically said, stop. We're going to stop throwing the football and we're going to give it to our MVP, this guy. And he's going to go outside. They're going to run off tackle because inside, I saw the stat on the screen. They were averaging like 2.3 yards. Outside the tackles, he was averaging like 4.6 or something. So they handed the ball and got the ball to their MVP. Boom. Saquon. Now but before the game, like before the game, we sat here and reviewed this and looked at all the stats and be like, if the Eagles are going to win this football game, it's going to come running the football because the Commanders were 28th in rushing defense. So that made sense. It was Saquon. It was always going to be Saquon. I don't know why they waited so long to do it. It doesn't make any sense. So, anyways, that was the big one. AJ Brown, 5 for 65. Dallas Goedert, 5 for 61. Saquon, 2 for 52. So 221 yards. I love the Jahan Dotson one. They did that on purpose. That was first play of the game. And on the other side, the leading receiver is Austin Eckler. That's hilarious. What's that all about? Brian Robinson had a pretty good game. But holy cow, Jayden Daniels completed 1, 2, 3, 4. No, 1, 2, 3, 4. He completed 4 passes to a wide receiver. Everything else was running back and tight ends. Are they doing that on purpose? Jayden Daniels completed to a pass to 4 wide receivers. Everything else is running back tight ends out of 22 receptions. That's pretty impressive. So, anyways, that linebacker for Eagles too, Bond, Bond to be wild. That dude's a baller. Their 2 linebackers were all over the place. You love to see Reed Blankenship up there. He had a good play. So did Cooper DeJean. So, anyways, that's it. I don't have anything more. That's all I wrote down. Good for the Eagles. If you're an Eagles fan, I hate the Eagles. People get mad because we're not. Oh, we're not. We don't. We're not unbiased. No, I'm not unbiased, dude. I'm a Niners fan. I don't care about the Eagles. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, I don't think they're good. They're a good team, but I don't have to sit up here and say like, oh, I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you. No, this is football, dude. I'm a fan of my team. You're a fan of your team. Get over it. Nobody cares. But I think this was a pretty unbiased show here. But anyways, I don't have any more to talk about, so here we go. If you like this little recap, we do a live show every Wednesday and Sunday if you're new. We also do podcasts from that Wednesday and Sunday show. They're available on all these outlets here, Mondays and Thursdays. That's when the podcast comes out. We do live shows Wednesdays and Sundays. Well, technically Thursdays and Saturdays too. So we do live shows 4 days a week, but the podcast only comes out twice a week. We might change that. Who knows? But anywho, that's all I have. Pretty decent game. I'd love to see it be a little more back and forth, but we got videos and shorts and all kinds of stuff going out. So, thanks for tuning in. We will see you next time. All right, we'll see you Saturday. We got the Pick'em show, 5-0.